BFR is the latest and greatest. And I'll talk about B3 Sciences in a minute, but if you're somebody on this call, there's 79 people on this call. I would imagine half of them are healthcare providers. If you're a healthcare provider and you don't know BFR yet, take the time to learn, because it is the latest and greatest. And I can tell you that my friend Mike Gattone, who I think is the best lifting coach in America, is in Japan right now. His team trained in Hawaii, and then they went to Japan yesterday, I think. He's a BFR fan. He gets it. And here's why, before I talk about B3. It's because we can now train our athletes without all the trauma and still get the gains in slow twitch and fast twitch muscle that we want. Particularly the fast twitch. And if you look at some of these gymnasts, I mean, they used to be little frail things that were just had great balance and everything. These women now can jump out of the arena. I mean, they're throwing double backs and stuff that were never done in the Olympics. It's all because they're stronger, and as scientists, we understand strength and muscle development. I don't know how many of our Olympians are using, BFR, but I bet you 75, 80%, because you're talking about the elite in the world. So I'm jumping a little bit all over the place, but it's just because like I said, my mind wanders. So back to the track analogy, we're track and field outside the tackle boxes with car crashes involved. So my business, and in the off season, it's a little different, but my business, once we get out of really in training camp too, because we're conditioning bodies to do that. Although in practices, we don't tackle to the ground a whole lot. We still have contact and collisions and whatnot, but not like on game day. And so on a Monday after a hard game on Sunday, and we open against Cleveland, and my guys are going to be hurting after the opener against Cleveland, because that's a physical football team who's very talented, very fast. And we've got to be able to train those guys, the hurt ones, especially with me, and then our regular guys, we've got to be able to train them so that they can still keep their muscle strength. Otherwise, and this is what used to happen in the NFL, is you were strongest on the day you reported to camp, and it just declined as you went. Well, the reason it declined is because the trauma involved in a game of football, they could never, let's say they're a 350-pound squatter, back squat, and they could do that for 5 reps. Well, 3 weeks into the season, you can't do it anymore. So now we were forced to find other means of getting strong outside of illegal PEDs. And this is where BFR comes in. And now that I'm into it, I'm absolutely baffled that it's been around this long and the NFL is just taking note to it. So I'm a big BFR proponent. Why B3? Well, first of all, it's a rarity for me to speak on these things. I don't have time. I get a lot of offers, but I don't speak on gimmicks. I refuse to speak on gimmicks. There's science here. And the science that B3 puts out, including their safety stuff, is foolproof. So that's why I've decided to hitch my wagon in BFR with Mike and B3 bands. There's a couple things about B3 that I think set them apart from all the others. And I'll tell you, like, it's really user choice. We have every band known to man, but in our athletic training room, because I have a extended budget, but I've settled on B3, and this is why. One, I think it's the safest one out there. It's got different chambers which keep us safe, and Mike touched on the safety stuff. These are the most user-friendly bands that are out there. There's no wires connected. You don't have to have it attached to a wall. It's not a single unit. You can use it bilateral. And I actually think the most effective way, and I'll talk about GH release and NO2 in a minute, the most effective way to get that big blast of it is to do put your bands on your legs and your arms at the same time and do multi-joint exercises. I think the growth hormone release is phenomenal in that. And I have that backed up by some of my colleagues in the National Football League, both men and women, and many orthopedic surgeons who tinker in this area, they agree with me on that. The other thing is they're super clean and easy to clean, which not all bands out there are created equal. And I'm not going to bash the other bands because I think BFR in itself is elite. But I think that B3 gives you a chance to have a clean environment, disinfectant. They don't break down. They're portable. They're very portable. Our athletes like it because they can buy the bands and then they have them when they leave our area because our guys have money, and Kansas City's not a hotbed to live in the winter. So after the season's over, they go to Florida, they go to California, they go back to Texas, and so they can have the bands with them. And then probably the most thing I say, the most important thing for a lot of people in this call, and my buddies here in Overland Park and other places, is I think B3 is the Mustang of BFR. And what I mean by that is the Mustang is the fastest car for the money. That's been proven. Well, these are the best bands for the money because they're so cost effective. And it's because there's not bells and whistles with it. It's just basic science. They're easy to use. They're easy to put on. They're easy to keep clean. You don't have to be an engineer to figure out how to get the right pneumatic pressure in them. You don't have to be a contortionist to put them on. You don't need somebody else to put them on. And then you don't have to carry a trunk with you to transport these. So if we take them as a warm-up device on the road, we just throw them in a bag and they come in a nice container. So that's why I've hitched my wagon to B3.